The Book of Destiny. Translation of Kitab-ul-Taqdeer. Author Ghulam Ahmed Parwez. Translated by Dr. Ejaz Rasool. Glasgow, UK. ISBN number 9798884207042. 1 Chapter 1, Kitab-ul-Taqdeer, Background. When man opened his eyes on planet Earth, he found himself surrounded by an extremely unfavorable environment. Eerie jungles all around in which were very frightful, wild, and bloodthirsty beasts and other dreadful gigantic animals, towering mountains all around and their menacing rocky faces, a boundless ocean before him and its fearsome tempestuous conditions. On the other side, roaring rivers, streams, creeks, and their destructive and stormy nature, continuous rains, hailstorms, snowfalls, and together with them tremor-causing lightning, flashing and thunder, here and there ominous volcanic mountains and from them a pouring flood of boiling, molten, fiery lava, the demons of earthquakes lurking underground and lightning snaking overhead, to the right and left, in front and behind, above and below, these innumerable means of destruction and devastation, and stranded among them, helpless, vulnerable, unarmed, weak and feeble, without any means and resources, man. He could not understand why all this is taking place, how is it happening, and what is the procedure by which to become protected from this. He was ignorant of the law of cause and effect and unfamiliar with the possibility of harnessing the forces of nature. Furthermore, he conceptualized every destructive event to be an accident, and used to declare this accident to be a consequence of mere chance. His mind simply could not venture beyond this. 1.1 The first concept of man. Now it is obvious that the man who is trapped within such a dangerous morass of accidents and chances, and possesses no resources or means for protection from them, will inevitably feel himself to be helpless. Consequently, this was the first concept which man established about himself, i.e. that man has been created constrained in this world, there is nothing within his power. Weak and feeble, helpless and defenseless, without means and support, constrained and pitiful, there is only one procedure available before man to protect himself from a frightening and dangerous force, and that is that he should bow down before this power, weep and wail, and in this way implore for mercy. 1.2 The concept of worship. Man of this initial era adopted this very procedure in order to be protected from the destruction of these dreadful forces. In the early morning this fiery sphere appeared on the eastern horizon, and he stood with hands clasped before it. From the heavens the rumbling of clouds, the flashing of lightning, and the roaring of thunder terrified the soul, and he fell before them in prostration. When the breaking of banks by the relentless floods of a river caused devastations, he began to entreat and plead before it. Sometimes he made the lion his deity, sometimes the snake. Sometimes he immersed himself in worship of the goddess Agni, fire, sometimes in worship of the god Indur, rain. In this way he established another concept about life, to plead for mercy from an entity possessing power in order to receive protection from dangers, and in this way to be a seeker of its help. Anthropologists classify this era of mankind as the age of worship. But it is obvious there could be no impact on these events in the universe due to this concept of the human mind. They were going to manifest according to their own laws, and they continued to manifest in this way. If, by chance, some event transpired following the worship of some god or goddess which was in accordance with the desire of these worshippers, then it would become a reason for reinforcement of this belief of theirs. If this did not happen, then they already considered themselves to be helpless in any case, and offering thanks would sit back with patience. 1.3 The Age of Magic. Some crafty people among them took advantage of this helplessness of theirs and said to them, "Do as we tell you and then see whether these goddesses and gods do not fulfill your desires." In this way, magic, spells, amulets, and charms came into existence. This era is called the Age of Magic in human history. As a consequence of this, some awareness of his own power became apparent to man, that is, that man can also use supernatural forces to some extent according to his own wishes. But even with this there was no change in these beliefs, mentioned above, in other words, that man is helpless in this world and needs the aid of supernatural powers for protection from dangers, which can either be acquired through worship or through the power of magic. This is the account of that human being who was devoid of the guidance of Wahi and coined concepts about the universe and his own self using his own intellect. These kinds of concepts were later described using the term religion. You will find these concepts in every religion of the world, whether that religion is prevalent among primitive tribes or among civilized nations. The reality and basis of religion is always one and the same in every place. 1.4 Concepts bestowed via Wahi. Contrary to this, some concepts were bestowed through Wahi about supernatural power, the universe, and man. According to these concepts, 1. This system of the universe has neither come into existence by chance, nor is it a random collection of incidents and fortuitous events. It has been created according to a well-defined program by a being who is Hakim and Alim. Together with this, he has established such firm laws according to which everything in the universe is busily engaged in functioning. This creator of the universe and clear laws are identified by the name of Allah. These laws encompass the external universe as well as the social life of man and also an individual's own self, i.e. no aspect of divine creation is outside the sphere of these laws. 2. Other than man, everything in the universe is constrained to live life according to these laws. Living life according to these laws is termed as being their fitrat, which it is not within their control to change. Hence whatever event occurs in the universe, it takes place according to these laws. In the outer universe it is called the law of cause and effect, and in the human world it is called the law of requital, which means that a defined consequence is established for every deed of man, even to the extent of the thoughts passing through his heart. No deed of his can remain without a consequence. 3. This potential has been kept within man that he is able to acquire knowledge about the things of the universe. When he acquires knowledge about these laws according to which the forces of nature are busily functioning, then he will be able to harness these forces. Based on this, man is not constrained and restricted in the universe, the things of the universe are constrained. He does not need to be afraid of the things of the universe, it is the things of the universe which should be fearful of him. The things of the universe are his servants and bow down before him, and he is their director and worthy of their prostration. Man can acquire knowledge of the laws of nature through observation, study, and experimentation. This is called knowledge of the sciences according to the terminology of the modern era. But knowledge of the laws about his own life, i.e. not about the laws relating to his physical life, but knowledge about the laws pertaining to his human life, is bestowed via Wahi, which is now preserved within the Quran. Just like the laws of nature, these laws are also immutable and permanent. 4. The difference between man and other things of the universe is that the things of the universe are created to be constrained to follow those laws which relate to them in order to live life. But man has not been created constrained in this respect. He has been given the choice that if he wishes he can live his life according to these laws, and if he wishes he can adopt some other path for himself. 1.5 Jabr, acceptance through compulsion, and choice. Man is possessor of choice up to this extent, that he lives life according to Allah's laws or goes against them, but he is not given this option that he can also obtain the outcome of his path according to his wish. Its outcome will become established only in accordance with the laws established by Allah. In other words, he has been given this choice that if he wishes he can swallow a capsule of poison, or if he wishes he can swallow a sweet, but he is not given this choice that having swallowed a capsule of poison he can create the outcome of that of a sweet. The result will be established according to the law of requital, which is not within the control of man to change. The domain of authority of this law is equally applicable to man's present life and to the life in the hereafter after his death. Allah is that omnipotent being who established these laws according to his program, and now he has such control over them that the outcome of every action keeps on becoming established according to them. A law is merely the name for a formula, i.e. if you do such and such, then such and such will happen. Within this formula itself there is no such intrinsic power according to which the outcome takes place. This power lies in the hand of the creator of this formula or law. For any law to become a living reality and to remain as such, it is necessary that the force which is acting behind it should always remain alive and enduring, i.e. it should be living and established. 1.6 Difference between Deen and Madhab. The system of life whose reality and foundation these concepts define is termed ad-Deen. You will have seen from this that Deen is the opposite of Madhab, and a challenge against it. The Quran has described these concepts with great clarity and precision, details of which will appear before you in the coming pages. From these details that problem of taqdeer which the world of religion has made so complex and unsolvable will appear before you clarified and resolved. Chapter 2, The Concept of Allah. Allah was also Allah at that time when this universe came into existence, and he will remain as Allah at that time when this system is no longer in existence. Hence, the world of Allah is not only the universe created by him, there is more beyond this. It is from this respect that the Quran has described the existence of two worlds of Allah. One is called the domain of Amr, which is beyond the universe created by Allah, and the other is the domain of Khalq, which consists of the universe created by Allah. The Quran declares, "Be aware that the domain of Khalq and Amr, both belong to Allah." 754. It is obvious that the association of law will be with the domain of Khalq, not with the domain of Amr. For example, this is a fact that in the universe no effect can appear without a cause, and nothing can come into existence without pre-existing material. This is the law of Allah. But its connection is with the domain of Khalq, not with the domain of Amr. Allah brought this universe into existence from nothingness, that is, he created it without any pre-existing material. This decision of his that such a universe should come into existence, and then this act of his from which he created it is completely against the law of cause and effect, and the system, in the world, of creation and procreation. 2.1 Domain of Amr. Those matters are related to the domain of Amr, in which there is no law, instead it is the will of Allah that is operational there. This is that very world of Allah about which it is stated, he does whatever he wishes according to his authority and intent. 22:14. In another verse, certainly your Rabb does whatever he wishes according to his intent. 11:107. Furthermore, he makes whatever kind of decision he wishes according to his will. 5:1. He does whatever he wishes according to his will. 22:18. He cannot be questioned, why did you do it like this? All others can be questioned. 21:23. It is proclaimed about this initial stage of creation, in which the universe was brought into existence from nothing without any pre-existing material, that he created the universe, the earth and heavens, the first time. When he decides on a matter, then for that he only says, be. And it happens, in this way, he brought the universe into existence from nothing. 2:117. Here, Allah is called Badi as-Samawati wal Ard. In another verse he is called Fatiri as-Samawati wal Ard, 6:14. At another place it is stated, Allah initiates the creation of the things of the universe, and by rotating them through variations, causes them to traverse further creative stages. 30:11. 2.2 Meaning of Takhliq, creation. It should be made clear that the linguistic meaning of khalqan is to measure something, to evaluate it, to correct the balance and proportion of something. From this respect the meaning of khalaqa will be to make something according to a specific estimate and scale by creating proportion and balance in different elements. As far as the initial creation, without pre-existing material, of things of the universe is concerned, that relates to the domain of Amr, of Allah, and in this no one is a partner with Allah. But by the mutual intermixing of things created in this way, the creation of ever new things can also be done by man, and he does so. That is why the Quran has declared Allah to be the best of creators, 23:14, 37:125, that is, from among those who create, the one who creates with supreme beauty and adornment, and with the most precise balance and proportion. It is stated at one place that he also keeps adding to his creation according to his mashiat. 35:1. These additions can be in the creation of new things of the universe for the first time, and also in the creation of new things by the novel rearrangements of different things, as well as through new compositions. In the words of Talib, he has not yet freed himself from adorning and beautifying. In front of him is an eternal mirror still veiled. 2.3 Characteristics of the domain of Amr. This phase of creation, in which things of the universe are brought into existence from nothing, and are made possessors of various characteristics, is about the domain of Amr, of Allah. Regarding this, we can neither understand how it took place, nor how it takes place, nor can we question why a certain thing was made a possessor of certain characteristics. Why was it done in this way that fire should provide heat, and that water should flow down a slope, under normal circumstances? Why was cyanide made poisonous, and water made the promoter of life? Why was honey endowed with sweetness, and salt with saltiness? Why was the universe created like this, and not like something else? The Creator, Fatir, of the universe did all this according to his absolute authority and with full autonomy. For this he was neither bound by any procedure or law, nor in need of the advice and opinion from anyone. This is that place about which he has only told us that
يَخْلُقُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ.
As he wills, he creates. 39, 24:45. Regarding the word ma yasha'u, as he wills, this is defined as the mashiat of Allah. We can neither comprehend this mashiat of Allah, nor can we question anything about it, as to why something is like this and not like that. This is the domain of Amr, of Allah. He makes whatever kind of decision he wishes according to his will, and he does whatever he wishes according to his will. About this he has only told us that he has created the system of the universe
بِالْحَقِّ.
16:3, he has not made it batil. 3:191. It is now our task to engage in research and inquiry according to the various sciences of the universe, and find out how it is
بِالْحَقِّ.
and not batil, but this is a separate topic. At this point we only wish to state that the form and reality of the domain of Amr, of Allah is out with our sphere of comprehension, because it is beyond our concept of the system of laws, for example, of cause and effect. Now let us move forward another step. 2.4 Taqdeer. Allah created the universe according to his mashiat, and having reached this goal, he made a supreme change in his program. Here, Allah confined his Amr within the four walls of the laws made by him. This point demands profound attention and reflection. The word qanun, law, does not appear anywhere in the Quran. Even in the Arabic literature of that time this word is seen very little with this meaning. Instead of this another root has been used in the Quran, which is even more expansive than qanun due to its comprehensiveness. The root is qdr, qadr. The basic meaning of this root is estimation or scale. The meaning of qadartushya is that I measured that thing, made an estimate of it, and the meaning of qadarashya bishai is that he measured something by laying it side by side with another thing, and in this way estimated whether it is equal to it or not, or what the mutual proportion is of each. The meaning of qadartu alaihi tab is that I made clothes according to this individual's measurements. Hence, the basic meaning of taqdeer is for something to fit according to some scale or estimate. And that scale or model or pattern according to which something is made is called miqdaran. Ala qadran means that it complied fully with the estimation or scale. The individual who is of a moderate and suitable height is called qadaran, neither too tall nor too short. The individual who reports what yield of grain can be expected from a field by assessing it is called al-Muqaddiru. From the above explanations it is clear that the meanings of Qadrun or Taqdeerun are those of estimation or scale, or for something to fully meet the estimate and scale. Since it is necessary that in order to make anything according to a particular scale and estimate, there should be full control over that thing, this is why Qadartu ala Shayin means that I possessed enough power that I could make that thing according to my estimation. 2.5 The Amr of Allah became tied to laws. We have seen earlier that in the domain of Amr, every decision or task reaches accomplishment under the absolute control and full autonomy of Allah. There is no defined fixed law there according to which every decision is issued. But in the domain of Khalq the Amr of Allah becomes confined within the four walls of procedures and laws. And the Amr of Allah is a decree determined. 33-38. The Amr of Allah converted into the pattern of scales, it became tied to defined scales. And in this way, Allah has fixed a scale for everything. 65:3. It is important to understand what the meaning is of for everything a scale is determined. Water becomes a solid from a liquid at a freezing temperature, at a particular temperature it again becomes liquid from the solid state, it flows down a slope. Whichever vessel it is poured into, it adopts that same shape. If more heat is provided, then it turns into vapors. Vapors are lighter than air, hence they rise high up into the atmosphere and are called clouds. On reaching a particular level of cooling, these vapors again convert into water, and since water is heavier than air, these fall, in the shape of rain, onto earth. These will be called the scales of water. Or that, in a particular quantity, water quenches thirst and supports life, but an excess of this same thing becomes the cause for human death, e.g. dying due to drowning. These are also scales of water. Or, for example, a date tree bears fruit after many years, while a banana comes to fruition within 6 months. These are their scales. From the cactus seed a fruitless and thorny plant grows, and from the mango stone a heavenly fruit, glasses filled with delicious juice. 2.6 The laws of nature. Following reflection, this reality will appear before us that the entity which the Quran has called Qadr is called the law of nature in our terminology. Therefore the meaning of Allah has fixed scales for the things of the universe, 65:3, will be that Allah has defined laws for all the things of the universe according to which they come into existence, grow, spread, bear fruit, and after that wither away, or acquire some other form. Just note how this reality becomes clearly manifested before us from different verses of the Quran. 1. In connection with the birth of a human child, it is stated that its beginning is from a fertilized ovum which becomes attached inside a safe location, the uterus of a woman. It stays there for a known duration, or estimate, 77:21-22. It is apparent that this refers to that period for which the foetus remains in the mother's uterus, and for this a law of nature is established. After this it is stated that we have fixed these scales, laws. We are the best to define scales, 77:23. In addition the meaning of Qadirun also become clear, the one who defines scales. At another place Qadirun has appeared instead of Qadirun, 25:54. Regarding these scales for the foetus, it is stated at another place that sometimes a child remains incomplete in the mother's womb, and mostly it is born having become fully formed. After this it is announced, there are scales fixed for everything with Allah, 13:8. 2. Regarding rain it is declared, and we bring down rain from the clouds according to a scale, 23:18, 43:11. At another place it is stated that when there is rainfall, then streams and brooks flow according to their capacity, Qadr, scales, 13:17. 3. It has also been described about the produce of the land that its output is according to an estimate which the Mashi'at of Allah has fixed, 42:27. In this regard there is also mention of the 4 seasons in which different crops grow. Allah has fixed scales for 4 crops from the land, 41:10. 4. It is generally stated about all the things of the universe that he created every single thing and established an estimation and a scale for this, 25:2. In fact, created everything according to a specific scale, 54:49. Those 2 verses of Surah Al-Alaq merit close reflection, in which it is stated that Allah began the creation of every single thing, then after removing all inessentials and superfluities from it, established its proportion, then fixed the necessary scales for it, and retained within it the guidance of this Amr, how it should develop and nourish itself according to these scales, 87:23. 5. Now we come to that aspect in which the meaning of this word, Qadr, appears before us with greater transparency according to modern terminology, law of nature. Among us, even a primary class student now knows how the day and night follow each other. This is the consequence of the rotation of the earth, and its rotation is taking place according to a fixed law. It is as a result of this that the timings of day and night, sunrise and sunset, are established with such certainty and assurance that there is not even the difference of 1 second in them. It is decreed about this that Allah has fixed scales for the day and night, 73:20. Similarly, it is decreed about the moon that Allah has fixed stages for it, 10:5. After this, see how the meanings of the word Taqdeer become clearer before us. The Quran states that the sun, solar system, is also continuously heading towards its destination, and this is the law, Taqdeer, established by that Allah who possesses knowledge of everything and is also master of supreme authority, 36:38. At another place, after general mention of the various stellar bodies and specific reference to the stars, it is stated that these are the established scales, laws, of Allah who is Aziz and Alim, 41:12. From these explanations it is clear that the meaning of Taqdeer is the law of nature, not the fate, Kismat, of man. 2.7 Taqdeer is Allah's, not man's. There is also another point worthy of attention here. It is stated in these verses that this is the Taqdeer of Allah, Aziz and Alim. According to the conventions of Arabic language, the meaning of Taqdeer is to confer an estimate or scale, to establish it. The meaning of the Taqdeer of Allah will be the divine scales or laws established from the direction of Allah. From this you can gauge what the correct meaning of Taqdeer is, and with what meanings it is used amongst us. In other words, according to the Quran, Taqdeer belongs to Allah. To say the Taqdeer of man is simply wrong. The reality is that the cause for many conundrums, complications, and struggles about life's problems are a result of the incorrect use of words, or their incorrect meanings, and the only correct method to understand the Quran is that the true meanings should be established of its words, terms, and concepts. These laws of nature, Taqdeer, of Allah are already established from the beginning. They were defined in the domain of Amr, and inscribed in the book of nature or the scripture of the universe. It is this that Allah has called the Kitab-ul-Mubin, perspicuous book. It is stated in Surah Al-An'am that Allah knows what is in the oceans and the land, and no leaf falls from any tree without His being aware of it, nor is there any seed hidden in the darknesses of the earth which is outside of His domain of knowledge. The reality is that nor anything fresh or dry, green or withered, but is inscribed in a perspicuous book. 659. There are no constituents whatsoever in the things of the universe which are not to be found in the Kitab-ul-Mubin, i.e. the laws of nature established from the direction of Allah are inscribed on each and every leaf in the universe, and engraved on each and every particle. 1758. Whoever wishes can study them. This is called knowledge of the physical sciences. From this respect these laws are called known specifications. 1521. That is, those laws about which knowledge can be acquired. 15:4. That which is stated about Adam that he was given ilmul isma, knowledge of characterization. From this is simply meant knowledge of the things of the universe. 2.8 The laws of Allah are immutable. The definition of a law is, if, then, always. 2.8.1 The difference between a command and a law. If you do such and such, then its result will be this, and will always be this. The last condition is the premise and basis of a law. The meaning of hukm, command, is that of a decision. An employer gives orders to his employees from time to time. It can happen that he has just given one order, and following that a second order, which is at variance with the first. Therefore, orders will be those decisions which keep changing, or in which there is the possibility of change. But when some order, decision, adopts such a form that no possibility of change remains in it, then this will be called a law. In other words, a decision which is unalterable will be called a law. The decisions which Allah has made regarding the things of the universe, that is, fixed scales for them, are immutable. It is this very immutability of the laws of nature on which the great and lofty structure of science is raised, by complete trust in which earthly man can journey to the moon, and then return joyfully and jubilantly, which is called Tawakkul 42 in Quranic terminology. Nay, rather proclaim this, that it is on the basis of this very immutability of these laws of nature that the spectacular structure of the universe is established with such firmness and strength, and its marvelous machinery is busily engaged in functioning with such balance and beauty, and organization, and harmony. 2.8.2 Kalimatullah and Sunnatullah. Two words have appeared in the Quran for divine law, one is Kalimatullah and the other is Sunnatullah. By studying the Quran, the difference between these two becomes apparent, that Kalma is the theoretical basis of the law which can be called the formula, and Sunnatullah is the practical form of this formula, i.e. when that theoretical law adopts a practical form, then it will be termed Sunnatullah, i.e. that path on which Allah is operating, or on which He is causing the universe to operate. These are both immutable. It is stated in Surah Al-An'am. No one can change the laws of Allah, Kalimatullah, 634, see also, 6:115, 1827. At another place it is stated, no alteration can take place in the laws of Allah, Kalimatullah, 10:64. In connection with Sunnatullah it is noted in Surah Al-Ahzab. This same Sunnat, procedure, of Allah also remained in place in connection with former nations, and this will also remain in place for the addressee nation. You will not find any alteration in the Sunnat of Allah. 33:62, see also, 40:85, 48:23. At other places, instead of tabdil, change, the word ta'wil has appeared, that is, the path of Allah does not change even its direction, 17:77, 35:43. We have seen earlier that on entering the domain of Khalq, the Amr of Allah becomes confined to scales, Qadr Maqdar, that is, it becomes molded into the form of assigned scales. This is what is called the Sunnat of Allah in the Quran. It is stated in Surah Al-Ahzab. This has remained the practice of Allah in relation to former nations, and the command of Allah is a decree determined. 33:38. This is because the Amr of Allah, in the domain of Khalq, becomes molded into the form of scales, it adopts the form of an immutable law. 2.9 The meanings of haqq. We have seen earlier that the Quran has informed us that Allah has created the universe as haqq. Those constructive outcomes which are beneficial and emerge before us in a concrete form are called haqq. The question is, how can this proclamation of Allah, that the universe is busily functioning so that from this beneficial results can manifest in a tangible way for man, appear before us as a proven reality? For this it is stated that Allah proves haqq as being haqq through His laws, 10:82. In another verse it is stated, Allah eliminates batil via His laws and establishes haqq, 42:24. This matter manifests in front of us as a result of those changes which keep appearing in the universe according to natural laws, but for this a very long duration is required. Each and every day of Allah consists of thousands of years, 32:5, according to our count and numbering, in fact 50,000 of years, 70:4. But when the arms and hands of man become the companion of the universal forces, then those same results materialize in a matter of days, that is, in the outer universe through scientific discoveries and inventions, and in the human world by establishing a system of the state according to the laws of Allah, but this is another topic, hence these references are considered sufficient here. In this way, by manifesting haqq, the Amr of Allah keeps on becoming fulfilled. It is stated in Surah Al-Talaq. Verily, Allah ensures that His Amr reaches its completion, that is, program which He had defined in His domain of Amr, and this was that aim for which He had established laws for everything. 65:3. 2.10 The things of the universe are constrained. This reality has become evident from this that the laws of Allah are immutable. Now let us examine the other side of this same coin, where this reality will appear before us that the things of the universe are constrained to live life according to these laws which have been designated for them. Verses on this topic can be found at numerous places in the Quran, that whatever is in the highs and lows of the universe, it is prostrating before Allah, before the laws of Allah. Whether it is a living creation or malaika, all are bowed down before Him, and no one can dare to disobey or transgress against this. 1649. All are in obedience to Him. 2:116. At another place it is stated that everything in the universe is busily engaged for the accomplishment of that program which Allah has defined for it. 57:1. If everything that has been said above is explained in a summarized form, then the following conclusions will appear before us. 1. Allah has fixed laws for everything, and it is through these laws that He maintains full control over them. 2. The things of the universe are obliged to obey these laws. 3. These laws are qadaran malum, known scales, i.e. knowledge about them can be acquired. Man has been bestowed with this potential that he can acquire knowledge about them. As has already been noted, when it is stated in the story of Adam that we have given knowledge about all the ismafs to Adam, 2:31, this means knowledge about the things of the universe, i.e. the laws of nature and the characteristics and properties of the things of the universe. When man acquires knowledge of these laws, then the forces of nature come within his control. In the story of Adam this is referred to as the prostration by the malaika, 2:34. The Quran has condensed all these details in a few comprehensive words when it proclaims that Allah has bound all the things of the universe in the chains of laws, so that you can draw benefit from them, can bring them into your use. 45:13. Whichever nation reflects on this reality, it will find very clear signs in it, to define the status of man in the universe. 45:13. 2.11 Allah has imposed constraints on Himself. We have witnessed that in this new stage of the creative program of Allah, a supreme revolution has appeared, and that is that the Amr of Allah, which was not constrained by any procedure and code, became Amr, Makdar, constrained Amr. That is, instead of absolute authority, it became a law, and then such a law in which there can never be any alteration. In other words, in this stage Allah Himself imposed constraints on His own self. We tremble at the thought of the concept of a constraint on Allah, but when He Himself has done this and has announced it, then we should have no reluctance in acknowledging it. And what is the point of reluctance? When it is a reality which we witness on a daily basis. That the laws of Allah are immutable, then acceptance of it is what is called truthfulness. It is stated in Surah Al-An'am. He has declared Remat as a duty, Kataba, on Himself, 6:12-54. The word Kataba has appeared in those places in the Quran where some matter has been declared as a duty, that is, compulsory, on someone. For example, fasting is prescribed, Kataba, for you, that is, this duty is placed on human beings from the direction of Allah, 2:183. Hence, the meaning of verse 6:12, will be that Allah has imposed this constraint upon His own self. At another place it is stated, Allah has made it compulsory, Haktan Alina, on His own self to keep Mu'minin protected from ruin and destruction. 10:103. Here the words Haktan Alina merit careful reflection. These mean that Allah has made it a duty on himself that he will do this. At another place it is stated, it is incumbent, Haktan Alina, on us to help Mu'minin. 30:47. Allah has written it down, decided it, that we and our messengers will definitely be successful. 58:21. This is not the place for elaboration of the conditions on which this Rahmat of Allah, safeguarding of Mu'minin, victory and success, supremacy and control, which Allah has made compulsory on himself, are predicated. At this point in time we only wish to note that Allah has also imposed constraints on his own self. These constraints have also been called the promise of Allah. This is the promise of Allah, the fulfilling of which he has made compulsory on himself. 1638, see also, 31:9, 35:5, 40:55, 40:77. He has stated emphatically about these promises that they will never be contravened. This is the promise of Allah, and remember, Allah never goes against his promises. 30:6, see also, 3:194. 2.12 The promises of Allah. These promises of Allah are, in reality, his established laws, and not contravening them means that there will never be any alteration in these laws. This is the meaning of this constraint which Allah has kept imposed on himself. One prominent example of this constraint is noted in the Quran itself. It is clear that Allah has brought this great universe into existence from nothing, but after this he has established immutable laws for the things of the universe. Among these laws is the law of reproduction, according to which the birth of the offspring of animals and man is through the mating of a male and a female. It is the belief of Christians that Jesus was the Son of Allah. Allah has refuted this belief, and the reason with which he has rejected it contains enormities of vision within it. He has stated that Allah has brought this whole system of the universe into existence from nothing. For this creative program of his, he was not bound by the law of cause and effect, but after the creation of the universe, when he had implemented the law of cause and effect, then even he himself does nothing against it. For the birth of a son, his law is that this is the consequence of the mating of a male and a female, husband and wife. These people assert that so. And so is the Son of Allah. To him is due the primal origin of the heavens and the earth. How can he have a son when he has no consort? 6:101. But while they are claiming this, they do not even ponder that how can Allah have a son when he does not even have a wife? Have you observed what a supreme reality Allah has expounded in this reasoning? That is, it is true that he has brought the universe into existence without any prior material, and without the constraint of the law of cause and effect. Hence, what difficulty is there for him to cause a son to be born to him like this? But when he has defined a law for the birth of a child, then even he himself does not contravene this law. He can do this, but does not do this. And there is a very great point implicit in this, that he can do this, but does not do this. 2.13 Response to an objection. It is said that if it is accepted that Allah is also constrained by laws, then he no longer remains omnipotent, he becomes bound, and this is against the stature of being Allah. But to think like this is the consequence of a superficial and erroneous perception. The one who is constrained is he who is forced to obey the restrictions imposed by someone else, but the one who imposes some restriction on his own self through his own choice and intent cannot be called constrained. If you are commanded to walk around for 3 miles every morning, then you will obey this command under compulsion. But if you yourself make the decision that you will go for a walk every morning for 3 miles and then you routinely walk, this will not be called a compulsion on you. The one who always fulfills his promises, lives life according to his principles, is firm in his commitments, lives up to his words, is not called a constrained man, he is called a man of principle, and trustworthy. Therefore, if Allah himself has imposed some constraints on himself despite possessing complete control and absolute authority, then no flaw transpires in his being omnipotent. Rather, this is proof of his being possessor of firm determination, that despite possessing the authority and control to do everything, he does not breach his principles, he does not turn away from his promises, he does not go against those laws which are devised by him. And in truth, being Allah only suits him who, despite being the possessor of such infinite authority and unlimited powers, remains solid on his commitment and true to his promise with such firmness, bound by principles. This is that Allah in whom complete trust can be placed. Keep this in mind. That Allah could have created the universe but not established any procedure and law for it, he could have done this, but he did not, he established laws for it. Then he could also have done this, that he could have altered his defined laws whenever he wished, but he declared that, despite our being able to do this, we will not do this. This is the correct concept of Allah. 2.14 The religious concept of Allah. But this concept of Allah is bestowed by deen, which a man habituated to religion, madhab, cannot embrace, or does not want to embrace. As has been documented at the beginning, religion is a collection of the concepts created in the era of the infancy of man, when, like a child, he was not yet familiar with the concept of laws. Man has now become an adult, and through intellect and reasoning he can appreciate this concept of Allah which deen has bestowed. But the interests of the religious clergy lie in this, that the human mind should remain in the era of infancy, hence they do not permit the populace to come towards this direction. The kind of concept of God which they wish to engrave on human minds is one in which, by their becoming the intermediaries, they get the supplications of people accepted, and in this way continue to have their own divinity accepted by the masses. For this purpose the religious clergy made the doctrine of Malukiyat commonplace, or you could say that Malukiyat and the religious clergy joined hands, and presented this as proof of the king being the possessor of power, that he is not obligated to follow any procedure or law. He can do whatever comes to his mind and can issue whatever kind of command he wishes. A human being living under this kind of system of Malukiyat and religious priesthood can conceive of following orders, but not of obeying a law. We can assess how tight the grip of religion is and how deep its influences on the human mind are, from the fact that even those people who raise the flag of rebellion high against Malukiyat or dictatorship, even lay down their lives to establish a political system based on the rule of law, when they arrive in the houses of worship, they prefer to view Allah as an absolute dictator instead of the ruling authority who governs in accordance with the law. This is the magic spell of religion. In other words, the rule of law in their own world, and total absence of laws in the kingdom of Allah. Deen arrived to eliminate this very dualism, that is, to proclaim that the blueprint of the communal life of human beings should be like that of the external universe, where there is the rule of law and order and in which no one can do whatever he wants. At this point these brief outlines will suffice, details will appear further on.